Hi everyone. So in this video what we're going to do is we're going to create a little variation of a character that you all know, and I call this guy Shootatchu, and he's related to Pikachu and Stare at You and Look at You and Fly at You and whatever variation you want to come up with. And you can see here that I'm just laying out some really basic shapes so I can get the drawing in position on the paper really quick. And I kind of when I did the main video here that you'll see coming up in a couple of minutes, I didn't really lay it out simply. I just really went into it and started doing the completed drawing, so to speak. But here you can see how you can take some simple shapes and lay out the whole character really quickly with just some really basic shapes. So this is a good skill that you should have, to be able to look at a drawing and just break it down into simple shapes and then be able to get it onto the page and make sure everything fits. I could have even made this a little bit smaller and given it a little more room for the ears, but I didn't, and I decided it would work. And then the other thing that I learned in this whole process here of drawing Shootatchu is that I don't really know how to draw guns. So I'm going to make that a skill that I attain over a period of time. And yeah, so when you see the end of the video, you'll look at my gun and go, could have been a lot better, a lot more interesting to look at. But anyway, for my first try with a gun, I just don't draw a lot of guns. I draw swords and shields and other things. But yeah, not a lot of comic superheroes have guns, so to speak, that I grew up with anyway. They had superpowers, so they didn't need to shoot people. So yeah, so that's my that's what I have to say about guns. I'm not very good at it, and yeah, I'm going to get a little bit better at it. And again, just doing some simple shapes for the gun, some rectangles, some cylinders, and then we're going to put the features on Shootatchu here. I wonder if I should have given this guy some goggles or something. Anyway, it's my first iteration of this character, so I don't have to do everything the first time. There, we got the basic layout, got an expression that I think works, and here we go. So now this is the actually the first video I did, and as you can see, I just start, getting into the drawing. I still use some basic shapes, and I like this idea here where I just draw a simple line to give the direction of some feature, and then I build the feature around those straight lines. I find that's really effective, and especially if you're doing a lesson with some people, beginners or young people, giving them simple tools like that. Just draw a line and then build around it. That's really helpful to beginner illustrators, drawers. And one thing I usually don't do is a lot of shading, but in this case, Shootatchu here has those dark eyes, and even when I'm just looking at it in a rough sketch, I like to put in the shading on the eyes, just then it looks correct to me. And I'm doing the same with the eyebrows and all that. So, but I try not to ever shade things very dark, of course, because if you're going to ink over it, then erasing it is a big fat mess. And so I tend to draw really lightly, which is actually an issue I've noticed in some of my videos where my sketches are a bit too light and maybe a bit hard for you YouTube viewers. So I'm going to try, and I've tried to improve my lighting on this one and get the lines a little darker. So I think you'll see in the next upcoming videos that I do that I get those lines a little darker, and hopefully these videos are a little easier to watch for you. And so that's one thing I'm working on in this infancy of my YouTube art channel. And I think I'm going to make a major decision here. I don't like to do a lot of erasing on the initial sketch. But I think what happened here is I just realized I'd run out of room, and so I got to get the big eraser out and just fix a few things. But I find erasing really slows you down, and if you haven't drawn too dark, you can just draw another line beside your wrong line and keep the flow of your illustration going. And I really cranked up the sharpness on this video so you could see the lines a lot better. But I generally wouldn't draw this. Well, the drawing isn't that dark, is what I'm saying, but I had to darken the lines for you viewers. Alright, and now I'm realizing that I don't know how to draw a gun here, and I'm just making it up totally from imagination or anything I've seen in the past. And yeah, I think the first thing I should have done here is just get out a ruler and draw a few lines to make some kind of perspective for the gun pointing away. That would have been helpful. And yeah, I've just done a little bit of research, and I'm going to practice drawing guns and getting a bit of perspective going. So you'll see some videos in the future of how to draw items and guns and things that are a little more mechanical and require straight lines. So yeah, you can see my process in its infancy right here. But you know, some doing things that you're not familiar with doing and just winging it, hey, that's fun too. Everything doesn't have to be perfect. I originally was thinking of giving this character a big Nerf gun, but yeah, I didn't have a lot of room here, so maybe in another iteration of this character I will get a big fat Nerf gun pointing at us. That was my original idea. And when I'm doing a video, I don't like stopping in the middle of it, and I just like to keep the flow going, whatever the flow is. But I think now that I'm watching this here, I definitely should have went and got a few references and drawn in some perspective lines and maybe come up with a better, maybe more fun weapon for Shootatchu here. But like I say, sometimes I just don't like to stop once the camera's rolling, and that's fine too. I remember when I would go to comic conventions, I haven't been to one for a few years now, I would love to see a illustrator draw, but I always like to see the absolute very beginning of the drawing, how they laid out the character, the basic shapes. And I noticed a lot of times at the conventions, a lot of the artists would have sketches done, and then like just a super light sketch underdrawing, and then when they had a group of people around, they would whip one of these underdrawings done, and then they would really just trace over it. And that kind of discouraged, I don't know if it discouraged, but I was like, no, that's not what I want to see. I want to see when the paper is blank, how one of my favorite professional, you know, comic illustrators, how he started, what were the first things they laid down. That was what was always really important to me. And even to the point where I have this really nice drawing. I forget the guy's name. I think he was from Winnipeg. I was at a convention in Toronto, and I said, hey, can you you know, do an illustration of Thor from scratch for me? And he did. I paid him, and he did just a wonderful drawing. And maybe in another video, I'll get that drawing out and show you. And it was so, I just remember being, oh wow, you did that from like a blank piece of paper. And that's what was really exciting to me, is to see what this guy did. And he was good. He just laid out the lines so nice. And what was interesting, he had such great skill that he didn't do a lot of big basic shapes. He was able to see the drawing in his head, and that was one thing that really stood out to me, is he just saw the finished drawing and just started laying it out. And that's a place I think we all want to get to, you know. And I think that also comes from doing a specific style of drawing over and over. If you're repeating a drawing, like let's say you're doing, and this guy drew me a picture of Thor, and it was obvious to me by the way he drew it that he'd drawn Thor many, many times, and already had all the basic, you know, mechanics, and he knew the character, he knew the costume, he knew some good poses and all that. He had a familiarity with Thor's hammer, just the way he drew it and all that. So, yeah, when you're doing something brand new for the first time, it's never going to be as good as when you have drawn it 100 times. So, and then again, comparing yourself to a Marvel comic artist is probably a bad idea for beginners and all that. Well, finally, I have my idea down, and I always love getting into the inking. So when I start inking, I just like to do something really simple, and then there's not really a lot of difficult stuff here in this little sketch. The gun's probably the most complex thing on the page. But regardless, I always like to start with something simple when I get some ink down on the page. And I always try to get some kind of line variation when I'm using ink. When I'm teaching a class, yeah, I really try to emphasize to beginners to practice, you know, using the brush pen and drawing some lines and going from thin to thick to thin to thick, and get that idea in their head right away, so that their drawings don't look like a, you know, just a wireframe drawing with all the lines the same thickness. A little trick that I try and do is to make sure that, well, not to make sure, but when appropriate, thicken the lines that are near the bottom of any object or main shape, and that kind of represents shadow or less light, you know. Just a simple effect you can use when you're inking. And turning the page so it accommodates your the motion of your wrist is always a good thing to do when you're inking. And another little idiosyncrasy I have is I like to draw on a few pieces of paper. Even though I have that Cricut mat under me, I like to have a few pieces of paper, or in this case a lot of pieces of paper. It just feels nice to me to have a softer cushioned surface to draw on. I don't know if anybody else likes that. As I do this, I think I really need to get back to another comic convention this summer. and and just watch some artists at work. I haven't gone for a couple of years now, and I kind of miss seeing some of the world's best in action. And I learned the hard way. I mean, after you're done your inking, of course, you want to erase all the pencil, the original sketch, but I tend to do it too early, and the ink is still wet, or um, it's not fully dried, and then I end up smearing black all over the page. So I'm not going to be erasing the pencil sketch in this video. I'm going to wait a day or so, and then I'll do it when there's much less chance of smearing the ink. Patience is an important thing that we all learn when we're doing art. Younger people have a hard time learning it. They want to do everything in one sitting, and I especially notice that when younger people are using like acrylic paint or watercolor. They don't want to even wait for one layer to dry. Okay, so now I'm into the gun, and I'm using the other end of the brush pen. This is more like just a sharp, hard nib pen here. And I thought for the doing metal, I should have more crisp edges. And as I continue watching this and commenting over it, I really wish I'd taken the time to, you know, get a ruler out and get some perspective lines all lined up, because this gun looks like it's pretty warped. So yeah, I'm going to do a few drawing videos on doing weapons and guns and more mechanical hard edge things. Watch this line. See how I bent it there? That's the world's most bent gun. But it's a lot of fun. Everything doesn't have to be perfect all the time. Sometimes we get too hung up on making things perfect, and when I'm in the flow of doing stuff, I don't like to stop. I just plow on. I think a gun belt, not a gun belt, but a an ammo belt would look good on this character here, Shootatchu. So I think in another iteration I might do that, put a ammo belt on. And also I was thinking maybe I should just scan this in and redo this whole thing digitally, and that way I can just redo the gun when I have a better idea of how I want to do the gun. I think that's something I'm going to do. So, beautiful thing about digital is you can change forever. And the thing about traditional is it forces you to make decisions, and sometimes they're irreparable. Can't repair them, you just have to live with stuff. The other thing not to get hung up on is to have to always follow the pencil lines exactly. If your artist's eye is seeing things different as you ink it the way you see it now. Certainly that's the way the traditional inkers felt. I have no idea what all these lines are on the gun. I just felt I had to make it more complex somehow. I'm not a gun owner, so I don't know a lot about guns. I don't know anything about guns, I should say. So I need to invest a little bit of time in learning how to draw some realistic guns, and then do some of my own creations. Designs, I guess, is a better word. A little bit of patience is needed when you do this kind of stuff. Now this is the second time I've commented over the second half of this video because I lost the recording the first time. So if I repeat some subject, please forgive me. It's because I lost the recording and I can't 100% remember things I've talked about. But anyway, if you're enjoying my journey here with YouTube and you like what I'm doing, please like and subscribe. Always adds a bit of motivation, I guess, or encouragement. Maybe encouragement's a better word. And I remember Mr. Beast saying that when you start a YouTube channel, just do 100 videos and ask questions after you've done 100 videos. So I've taken that to heart, and I'm just trying to get my first 100 videos, and I find I'm learning, I'm learning every new video I do, and if I get one new idea to make the videos a little bit better, then that's a win. I've been working on getting the lighting better on my videos, and I think in the last day or two I've learned a few things that are really going to help in this video and in future videos. So and then we'll see where it goes from here. And I'm wondering if posting, oh well, actually, I'm wondering, I'll wonder that later. I'm going to delete this little bit of commentary. So continuing on with the hatching of the handle here. I forget who the artist is, but he actually doesn't even pencil his drawings. He just goes, it's the guy who does the is it the frog? The frog character? Anyway, and yeah, he just starts with inking his drawings. So you got to have a lot of experience or a good mind's eye to just be able to do your drawings, ink them instead of pencil them and then ink them. So maybe one day I'll get there, but I'm not there now. And so I just enjoy the process, enjoy the journey. And I'm just going to add a little bit of weight to some of the lines here. So I like doing this, taking a character and making variations. That's a lot of fun to do. And one thing I want to do in the future is analyze some panels in some of my favorite comics when I was a kid, and redraw them and ink them, and that'll be a fun little challenge to do. And also I'm going to introduce a couple of my characters uh, in my videos here. I think it's always inspiring if you're creating your own characters and images from scratch. And yeah, I found it really inspiring to watch other YouTubers start their journey. And there's one gal in particular that I've been following for a long time. Her channel is called Love to Draw Manga, and that's with the number 2, Love to Draw Manga. And she's really cool. Seems like a real nice soul. And it's been interesting to see her journey, because I started following her quite a few years ago, and she's pretty huge now. And it was interesting to see how she learned as an artist along the way. And I notice a lot of YouTubers are doing that, how much they're learning along the way. Another one of my favorites is Sam Does Arts. Sam's really awesome digital artist, and seems like a really nice guy. Lives in Toronto, only an hour away from me. So these guys and gals offer a lot of inspiration. So anyway, that's pretty much the drawing. Please like and subscribe, send a comment. If there's something you're interested in seeing, let me know.